Thank you for joining us for the Q&A portion of Abbas 36. We really hope you enjoyed watching this incredible film. And we are beyond thrilled to have three wonderful people joining us for the Q&A. We have Nidal and Dina and Marwah, the director, with us today. So welcome.
Welcome. Ahla wa sahla.
Hi, everyone.
It's a powerful film, and I think we're all really anxious to start jumping right into the into the questions. So why don't we start a little bit just with some background information. Let us know a little bit about yourselves. What do you do, and how you kind of came together how did you find each other to make this film? So maybe I'll throw it out to, why don't we start with Nidal?
Yes,
the co-director. I forgot to mention also the co-director of this film.
Okay, hi. So actually I'm staying now at the place where it all started in Haifa, in Abbas 36. This is the house that I grew up in, knowing, because of my mom, Allah yarhamha, who kept saying that this house belongs to a Palestinian family. And she kept saying, when she got to know the name of Abu-Ghaida. So all my life, I grew up in knowing that this is not ours, that we are only the guardians of the house, that this house belongs to Abu-Ghaida, until I found Abu-Ghaida by meeting Dina in 2009, when she moved to Palestine, to Jerusalem, to work at the World Bank. This is how it all started. And I knew that Dina's grandfather, Ahmad, who built the house in 1936, and we decided that we're going to be starting our journey of what happened with their family since the Nakba, what happened with my family since the Nakba. And this is when Marwah is a friend of mine, and I kept telling her about the story and about the film and about the whole idea, and this is where she got engaged, and we started working on the story, where you now watching the results actually in the festival, the film and the documentary that you've been just watching now.
Actually, I know Nidal very well, but Dina was like my gift in this film. Seriously, to know her, to meet her, to get to know the Abu-Ghaida family all over the world. So when I was hearing the story from Nidal, and I understand that she was trying to do a film, I didn't know anyone of the Abu-Ghaida family. During the journey of the film, I get to know them one by one. And that is, I can tell you as a filmmaker, that if I knew them before the actual filming, maybe the film will look different. Because we decided to start the journey in special occasion and also national occasions. So that's why, and a lot of things, by the way, that were not written in the treatment, not written in the script, such as a Washington or a Trump declaration about Jerusalem not being the capital of Palestine, and Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. That was something that we added quickly, and we made Nidal run to Washington to meet Dina and to see the reactions. We didn't think that Trump will surprise us with this. And a lot of things that happened in Palestine during the filming. But Dina, that was maybe like when I heard her story from her about how she entered the first time the house, that was, wow, very strong, very emotional. And to tell you the story, I heard it from her just during the filming, and we end up not using it because sometimes, you cut this element, you add that element every 30 seconds or 10 second count. So her story is really amazing and touching. I would love to hear it from her because it was not in the film actually.
So my story then, I guess Marwah is handing me the mic almost physically here. So yes, of course you all know the house belonged to my grandfather and his brother, and they had to leave in 48. Our family ended up in Syria, and from there is dispersed all over the world. I personally grew up in Austria, and moved to the United States, and I'm connecting here from my home in Washington. But I grew up knowing that a certain family, Abbasi, whom we met by chance in Beirut, growing up in Beirut, I lived in Beirut partly as well, that they live in my grandfather's house. My father connected with someone from that family and realized that that family inhabits the house. So the first time that I went to Haifa, I went as a citizen of Austria in 1989, and I knew I had to look for my family home on Abbas Street, and all I knew was that family Abbasi lives there now. And of course, I didn't know that Abbas Street still has predominantly Palestinian families. I didn't know that. This was my very first time ever in Palestine. So I had no idea, do I even approach people and ask them about family Abbasi? What are they going to do if I talk to them in English? I had no idea. But the minute I arrived, there was how in the Middle East we have this custom when somebody passes away, they put up these little posters that say so-and-so has passed away and condolences are accepted and such and such. So somebody from family Abbasi had passed away, and there was a condolence sheet posted on an electricity pole that said, condolences are accepted at 36 Abbas Street. It was like somebody was handing me the address. So I went and I knocked that day on the door. And to this day, I don't know who, because Abbas, now the house has 6, 7, I don't know, Nidal will know better than me, 6 families, I think. So I don't know who opened the door for me that day. It was a middle-aged woman, that's what I remember. And I said, I'm sorry, I have a very strange question, but do you know, does this house actually belong to family Abu-Ghaida? In Arabic. And she said, and it's untranslatable, but everybody who speaks Arabic will appreciate. She said, "Tfaddali ya binti al-bayt baytik." She was welcoming me the way we welcome people in Arabic by saying the house is your house, but in this case, the choice of words is obviously very. And I just started crying and left. And I have visited Haifa many, many, many times over the years. I'm married to someone from Nazareth, as you all know, and actually from Safuri originally, which is a destroyed village. So I visited many times. I always went to the house, checked on it, made sure it looked fine, but I never knocked on the door. And so I never met Nidal until, by chance, a colleague of mine who I was working with in Jerusalem, who knows Nidal, mentioned my name to Nidal, and Nidal heard Abu-Ghaida, asked her to ask me where I'm from, and of course I knew exactly where I'm from. I said I'm from 36 Abbas Street, and that's how Nidal and I connected. And as chance would have it, we found out that we live within 50 meters of each other in East Jerusalem, the Sheikh Jarrah. So we are fated to our fates are intertwined, Nidal and I think we can say that.
So, Dina, who approached you with the idea of making a movie about your family's house and your history?
Actually, it was Nidal's idea. She thought that our story was an interesting one. And when we told it to people, they did think it was an interesting one. And, for me, I think my hope, we have different desires out of the film, Nidal and I. Making the film was not easy. It took us many years. As you realize, we met in 2009, right? And Marwah had to enter into the picture for the film to be made. It took us a long time. But the idea was originally Nidal's. And I think Nidal wanted certain messages to be transmitted. I wanted other messages to be transmitted that I would like to lay out at some point if I can. And Marwah probably had her own ideas about what the film should say, and so the question is, which ones were transmitted, and how much did we confuse the audience in the end? But anyway,
I think here I just want to say, in my nature, I like to close circles. So I knew that Nidal, my name was not for a coincidence. Why my name was Nidal? It was very important for me. When I knew the family, when I got the family and I met them, I met the daughter of Abu Nidal, who I was called after him. And for me also, it was very important to know the family. When my mom kept saying that this house belongs to Abu-Ghaidas, it was also for me very important closing the circle by knowing who is this family? Where are their family today? In what planet they are? I knew that they are in more than 20 different countries in the world. It was very important for that very reason of what happened with these Palestinians, where they became refugees all over the planet. And that was, so perseverance for that regard was really my mom's perseverance, who kept saying that this is Abu-Ghaida's, and my perseverance, and maybe for being a journalist, a journalist seeing different things, and journalists got a special eye to dig into stories, and not to just pass over and go for another story. And this is where I thought, wait a minute, the whole, there's a big story, important story here for what happened in the past. I also know about my dad, who became an orphan in 1948 when he lost his dad, and he was only 6 years old. And when he decided that he's going to come and live and get married with Sarah from Jerusalem, after it's like another story. He has his own Nakba story. He's coming to another Palestinian house in Haifa with another Nakba story. And this is where I kept saying, it's a story about one house, two Palestinian stories, each the way it's related to Nakbi, and where life took us. I don't believe that there is coincidence. I don't think it's by chance I met Dina. I think God made it, meeting Dina. God made it that we will meet to do this film. People in Haifa, when they see me, they say, Nidal, many refugees left from here, but you were always after, who is the owners of our house? I will find them, until we found them. And I think this is very important. I believe that we all Palestinians have different stories, and we always surprised from how our stories really are amazing. And we thought that we told all our stories, and yet no, so many more, hundreds or even thousands untold stories. And this is where we are surprised every time we are telling. Abbas 36 is one of these million stories that keep surprising us when we dig and know really the human aspect of what happened to us as Rafa family, what happened to Abu-Ghaida family, what happened on this journey of life, where we are today, we're going to be in 50 years, where are they today, where they're going to be in the future. And I believe that there will be peace one day soon. I don't think that tyranny will continue forever. I believe it's a question of time when we Palestinians really, we will see the right of return, where Palestinians will be coming back to Palestine and live back in their houses. I do believe in this. It's not just a saying.
Maybe this is my cue, Dania. We're not letting you ask any of your questions, but maybe
this is the conversation we want to have and need to have. So
let me take this opportunity, because for me it's complicated, right? My hope is that the film begins to show how complicated the question of refugees, in Palestinian refugees, is. What is home? What is homeland for Palestinian refugees? What is right of return? We all believe, and we do have the right of return, but how do we exercise that right of return? So here you have, am I the refugee because my father was 12 when he had to flee Haifa in 1948? Or maybe Nidal and her family are refugees, though they managed to stay on the land, they had to leave their original village and ended up in Haifa. Whose home is Abbas 36 now? I firmly believe to this day it is my home. Does that mean, though, that it's not Nidal's home? That's also not right. She grew up there, she has all these memories there. And then when one day we do return, does Dina return to Abbas 36? Is that really the only correct way to return to Palestine? Or, I lived in Jerusalem for 5 years. I love Jerusalem. There's no city I love more than Jerusalem now on the face of this earth. I have friends in Jerusalem. Do I return to Palestine by returning to Jerusalem? Is that my return? And I have this luxury of having these options, right? So for every single Palestinian out there, refugee, there's a different story, there's a different nuance, there's a different set of questions. And it doesn't serve anyone to simplify things, and it's time to really unpack and talk in more deeply, more honestly about these questions, I think, for us Palestinians.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And maybe that's a good segue to Marwah about, you know, of all the refugee stories, of all the Nakba stories, and we know there's new ones every day because the Nakba is an ongoing event. You know, what drew you to this particular story and you wanting to tell, you know, this particular story, which is, you know, there's something very familiar about it in the sense of, you know, we see all our families depicted in this story, but at the same time, it's unique in the sense of the movies we've seen on the Nakba, which usually involves a Palestinian person going home to a house occupied by an Israeli family. So, you know, can you tell us what made you tell that story?
That was the normal scenario that we get to see everywhere. Like some Jewish, it's easy to be angry when a Jewish guy living in your family. It's easy even to hate when a Jewish guy living in your house or a family. But when there is a Palestinian family, not a normal Palestinian family, a Palestinian family that spend all of her life struggling for stopping all of these situation. Like the father was a lawyer, the mother was in the jail, the mother lost her father in the Naksa, the father lost his father in the Nakba. This is the kind of Palestinian family that we're dealing with in Abbas 36. And the Palestinian family that left Abbas 36 is in all over the world. They are not, it's not a story of poor Palestinian, ya haram, let's help them have the rights. No, 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 they are very powerful family, wherever they are. They are a very strong family, but they have the right and they have the way, they have to choose the way and how they will express the right of return. This is something that every family can decide for herself. Dina decided to come to the house, to search for the house, even to try to buy it. This is another way of getting back maybe our rights. So it's when I established my company, I didn't want to tell the story of the poor Palestinian. I wanted to tell the story of the Palestinian who have rights, the beautiful Palestine, the strong Palestine, the very powerful Palestinian people that wherever they are, it doesn't matter if they are ministers in specific countries or they are working in the World Bank like Dina's situation or other international organizations that they are very prestigious. They want to come back to their homeland and they have the right to choose so. So this is the way I felt connected to the story. By the way, all of Abbas Street is a situation of Nidal's house. The Palestinian families who are living now in Abbas, they are not the original families, and it's the whole street. Like maybe 10-20% of the street are Israelis, but most of them are Palestinians. So the difference of the story of Abbas, that there was Sarah reminding the family like every day, this is not for us. There is a Abu-Ghaida family and one day they will come back. Mm-hmm. This is what makes the story special. And the fact that Dina also was searching. Here we have two Palestinians. One is searching for the house, one is searching for the original people of the house. So in the two situations, they were active Palestinian, not passive Palestinian, thinking how someone will come and rescue us. No, no, no. They had their faith in their hand. And that's the beauty of the story. And you have to know, Al Jazeera documentary channel, every year they have like thousands of ideas, beautiful ideas with suggests to make this story or that story as a film. Mm-hmm. So I believe they had Abbas 36 and another 300 stories about the Nakba, but Abbas was the choice. And I was so happy to hear Ahmed Mahfouz, the general manager of Al Jazeera, saying that that was the most powerful film for Al Jazeera documentary channels in 2018. That was like, for me as a production company, wow. So the meaning of that, we managed to put the story in a very beautiful film, because there are hundreds and thousands of beautiful stories. And here today, we are not in a storytelling session, we are in a filmmaking festival, in a film festival, speaking about the films, how to make the story look good in a film that can speak to different people from all over the world. And you know what? I think when I was writing any single part that belonged to this film, I was not thinking about, not the Canadian, forgive me for that, not the American, not any European. I was thinking about Palestinian. It's a Palestinian story. When I was thinking, okay, how the reaction of the people will be, I was thinking Palestinian. I was thinking how the Palestinian will see their own story, how this will open a new circle of discussion, a new circle of Palestinian discussion. And I am sick and tired of being always crying and being always, I want to excuse Israel. I want to take Israel to the high court of Lahai. I want them, to be punished for all the crime, but in the filmmaking, I want to be proud as a filmmaker to tell my own story from a powerful point of view, not from a weak point of view, not how poor we are the Palestinian, no, how strong we are the Palestinian, how we deserve to get our rights. And that's why maybe Abbas is different than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe Nidal, you can sort of pick up on sort of where we've started this conversation is the messaging that you wanted to get out there, and why you decided to pull these two incredible women together and get this film made.
I think that the whole idea and the line which kept us from the beginning of the film until the end is a very crucial question of the question, if Nakba didn't happen, where would we be today? I kept asking this question to myself. If Nakba didn't happen, my grandfather was not killed, my dad won't be orphan when he was 6 years old, so probably he's not going to be going through his tough, difficult life that he needs to go to work when he was only 10, 15 years old, to continue and to support himself, to study, and then to continue to go to the Hebrew University, to become a lawyer and an advocate defending. And my mom, who decided that she wanted to go after the 1967 war to Lebanon and to study to become a businesswoman, all her entire life changed as a result of Nakba after she witnessed what does it mean uprooting Palestinians from their cities and towns. And as a result of this, she was politically active right after the war of 1967. If Nakba didn't happen, probably Dina will be growing up in Haifa, in Abbas 36. My neighbors will be her neighbors. My classmates are her classmates. My life is her life. My world is her world. This is where I remember once, and that was really something very difficult, not easy, when Dina told me frankly, after one event, and for that event, many of my friends from Haifa came and participated, and I was introducing Dina to them. This is Reem, my classmate. This is my roommate. This is Christine, my schoolmate. This is George, our friend who was teaching us Dabki. And a couple of days after, she said, and she was very frank to come and to share and to express her feeling that this is the life I would live if Nakba didn't happen. Mm-hmm. If Nakba didn't happen. And for a minute I was thinking, it's not like we as Palestinians lost Palestine and the homeland, but the life, our life as a result of Nakba, our life, if Nakba didn't happen, what will happen with us? It's like what is written in Ghassan Kanafani when he said to Wasi to his wife, and he says, what's homeland? And then he will answer that all what you are witnessing now won't happen, meaning that we won't see all these miseries and difficult and harsh and nakbas and naksi as a result of all our horrible, difficult, tough journey that we went through right after 1948. And the problem is that it's not even the end yet. God knows what is waiting for us, so as to be able to reach one day liberty, self-determination, dignity, freedom. So this is where every single day we are saying, and we're asking our question, how did we reach to here? And if Nakba didn't happen, where would we have been? I won't be from Haifa, probably I will be from somewhere else. And this is where we as Palestinians, when we are dispersed in so many countries in the world, and all what we want is a homeland, and we are struggling since so many years for a homeland, for stability, for a place that we know that we don't need to worry all the time. So this is definitely a question.
Maybe I can follow up on what Nidal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I know that it was a difficult conversation for Nidal, that conversation that you referred to. She's referring to, Nidal is famous for her annual birthday parties in Ramallah, and she throws the best party in town and invites all family and friends from Haifa, all family and friends in Ramallah. And, you know, these are people who know Nidal since she was a child, many of them, and you're talking about, you know, close to 200 people, right? So I remember being at this party, and exactly like Nidal said, looking before the Corona times, exactly. Looking at Nidal dancing in this group of a large number of people who all know her and whom she grew up with, clearly belong to them and they belong to her. And I remember thinking, yeah, exactly. This is the life that I could have had if we had not left Palestine, if we had not had the Nakba. But it made me think about the life that I do have. And the fact is that there is nowhere on the face of this earth, no single place where I could have a party and invite 200 people who know me well. There is nowhere. I was born in Damascus, but I didn't really live there. We lived briefly in Beirut, and that was a long time ago. I grew up mostly in Austria, in Vienna. I still have friends there, but, you know, no family. I live now in Washington, and I've lived in Washington for a long time. I have many friends, family within driving distance, and the family is all over the world. So sometimes I feel sorry for myself. On bad days, I feel sorry for myself, and like that day when I had that conversation with Nidal, and I tell her, you know, I think I don't really have a home. There's no home for Dina. And on the good days, I feel like I am lucky. I am blessed. I am a citizen of the world. I can be at home in the US. I can be at home in Vienna. I can be at home in the Middle East. You know, who can say that? Who can claim that kind of some level of belonging to so many different places? Mm-hmm. So it depends on the day, and it depends on many other things, obviously, but that is something that many Palestinians have to think about and deal with. Sure, you know, any kind of refugee, obviously, immigrant. In this day and age, we see all these stories constantly on the news about the refugees and their plight, and we must not forget the Palestinian refugees who still have their plight that is unresolved. That's really important.
Yeah, I think you perfectly captured what it's like to be a Palestinian in the diaspora. You know, on one hand, you know, you feel grateful for the privileges that you have that your relatives might not, but at the same time, there's still that longing of home. You know, I've lived all my life in Toronto, born and raised here, but there's always that longing that, you know, we can't scratch easily enough or quick enough. So you did definitely describe that feeling perfectly. I'm wondering, just because you did mention you really wanted to raise or you wanted to discuss this, was there any other messaging or motivations you wanted, or, you know, that you wanted to come out in this film, or, you know, that were behind your reasons for doing the film? I definitely don't want to skip over that part for you.
I mentioned the important questions that I feel we have to discuss. But to be honest, I also want this film to be actively going beyond this notion of the glorified, you know, return to our very houses that one day we will all have. That is the right of return. Now, as powerful and as, you know, I was weeping during that scene, and that time when my uncle came, the one family member whom I could Nidal and I could bring over, because he also has a foreign passport, who was born in Haifa and who left that house. He was 9 when he left the house, and he came back, and you see him talking to Nidal's father, and Nidal's father handing him the key. As powerful and heart-wrenching. We have to go beyond. We have to go beyond.
I think we lost you, Dina.
Do you hear me, Daniel?
We lost you, Dina. I don't hear you.
Maybe
we
Nidal.
hear Dina.
We do hear her.
Yeah,
we do hear Dina.
Maybe Nidal has been disconnected.
Yeah.
Or maybe she has a delay. Either way, let's keep going and hopefully she can reconnect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As powerful and heart-wrenching as that scene was, I want us to go beyond talking like that. I want us to be pragmatic. We have the right of return. We are not giving up our right of return, but let's talk exactly how we exercise that right. What does it mean today to return to Palestine? The fact of the matter is, my uncle, he came, his heart was broken, he took the key, he holds on to the key, but then there was a, they were staying with me in Jerusalem, him and his wife, at the time when we drove up to Haifa. We came back, they spent a few more days in Jerusalem. It was a very difficult time for him, and I do know that they were walking in the garden outside my house, and his wife said to him, "Khalas, enough, let's just go home, let's go home." And by that, she meant let's go back to London. She did not mean anywhere else. So, we, and this is exactly going back again, what is home? How do you define home? I want this film, like Marwah said, to be really a trigger. I would hope a trigger for us to have a proper conversation about the right of return, what we expect to happen today for us to be able to exercise our right of return, and move away from the big jargon and ceremonial key handing. As much as emotionally I understand it, and I was the first person to cry, but it's not the way for us. It's for the future. We need to do something more concrete. We need to plan better, think better, and move on, and figure out what the best way is under the current circumstances.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't mean that we are giving up any right. No, we are adding to the possibilities of return another way and another angle and another key, maybe, as symbolic the key is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have too many different keys of return, not just the one that we left at 48.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a difficult subject matter, and one thing that really captured our attention to this film was it was very personal. It was very intimate. We are being in someone's home is probably one of the most intimate places one person can be, and then we're also on top of it dealing with a difficult subject matter. Things and one thing we hear from many families is that no one talks about the Nakba. The generation that experienced, the horrors of 48 don't talk about it. It's a wound that they cannot open. So, it was hard in many ways to kind of watch you guys going through that process of, opening those wounds, going into places that maybe have been closed off for a very long time, and watching you guys open that with not only for yourselves, but, other family members who may or may not have been fully prepared to go there until you had approached them. But at the same time, it was, there was a hopeful message. It wasn't depressing. It wasn't, it was emotional, it was difficult, but there was still a message of hope and possibility in those wounds. So I'm wondering if you could talk about, just talk a little bit about that. Was this process, one of trauma? Was it one of healing? Was it a bit of both? And did your families who you approached in this story, was this something they were happy to be a part of? Is this a story that they wanted to have an opportunity to address in this kind of context? Especially considering there was a camera there, not always the easiest. But I don't know who would like to start with that.
Is Nidal back?
Nidal's here. Yeah, Nidal, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have the luxury of having something else beside this. So this is mainly our crucial, main, central, in the sense of our daily life. And this is where I think if my mom, until her last day, she was saying, my best day ever in my life was when Fuad Abu-Ghaida came back home. And that was, guess what, Dania, it was exactly on Nakba Day. The idea was, it was very symbolic because I wanted to show them that Nakba Day in our memory as Palestinians, the collective memory of us as Palestinians, it's the day of Nakba when we were uprooted from Palestine and we became refugees all over in Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and everywhere else. And in that very day, it was important if Fuad and Dina and Fuad's wife, Basima, and Dina's mom, then if they're going to come back to Palestine, it's important to come back on that day to show and to close again that circle that on the same day which we were uprooted and fled and forced out, we are coming back. And what is this for us? Despite that, of course, it's not yet happening since there's no any solution for the Palestinian refugee case and the whole Palestinian cause in general. But what's important that Fuad is coming here and he's coming to Haifa and to his house and meeting even people that he met 70 years ago and his people that he played football with 70 years ago and people that they still remember him 70 years ago and neighbors that they were his neighbors 70 years ago. It was very important for the healing process for that to happen exactly on the same day where we recall it as the Nakba Day. And that we remember, and I remember when he took me around and he was telling me, these are the stairs. I remember very well. We didn't take anything, but we went on the stairs down to go to the port. And this is where we went to Lebanon. And he went and he was explaining, and then he took us to his school where it became today a cultural center, where he took us up to the bakery, where he remembers George. Imagine, a small little boy. He was only 9 years old in 1948, but he remembers every small little detail of his life. This life which was confiscated from him as a result of the Nakba and this catastrophe. That the wound, of course it's an open wound, unless there will be an adjust solution where Palestinians are coming back, it will always remain as an open wound. And I think that by doing it on the same day, there was like trying to deal and a little bit of healing that open wound that we tried to watch, to touch. And I think also for Fuad and for Basma and for Dina and for everybody, I think it was important for that regard, just to live and to see all this. And, it's like a dream that you're not aware. Is this real? Is this for real what we are going through, what we are witnessing, and the people and the place, and when we remember, also I want to say that our house, my mom always refused to change anything in the character of the house, like the tiles, the windows, the doors, the main door, and everything. She always said, this is not my house, this is Abu-Ghaida's. When they will come here, they will change. So imagine that you're living in such a life that you know that you're not touching anything, you keep it as is, even if it needs to be changed because it's already, the house was built in 1936, so you're talking about almost 100 years. And to keep it as is because she deeply believes that when they will come back, they're going to fix it. It's not me to fix it. So of course, the healing process, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. Sarah passed this to her 5 sons and daughters, and I hope that it's not going to be that far until we will see that there will be an adjust solution to our cause.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to come in here because I talked a lot about sort of problematizing and unpacking what it is to be a refugee and the return and everything, but I'm very aware that I'm talking from a position of great privilege compared to many Palestinian refugees who, for example, in Lebanon, who have been living there for decades with very little prospect for a happy, prosperous life. So my point is, again, I want to insist on this. My point is that each story is unique. Each story is nuanced. We have to move, however, beyond sort of the simplistic, the key that is going to fit into the lock, into the door in the house that we left in 1948. Not that that is not our right, but chances are that that house has a very different door and lock now. And, let's talk concretely, and let's get, the inputs of people in Lebanon, of people, Palestinian refugees in Jordan, of Palestinian refugees in Syria, Palestinian refugees all over the world, about, guys, okay, yes, return, but how? And would you really, if tomorrow you could go back to Palestine, would you pick up and go? And many will say yes, but many will also say no. Okay, but then those who say no will still have a right to be compensated for the fact that they and their families were kicked out. So how would that look like? Like, that's my hope, that this kind of conversation can be had by us Palestinians, and where all inputs come in. And maybe the predominant voice will be, no, we insist on the right to return to exactly that village and rebuild it, and rebuild a house that has a door into which this key will fit. Maybe that's what the consensus will be. But we need to have this conversation. We need to have this kind of concrete awareness and detail. We can't just live in this dream world anymore, without giving up the dream. It's a kind of I'm trying to communicate two things at the same time. In a way, maybe I'm being dishonest, because you do see me in the film trying to buy back one of the apartments in Abbas 36. So yes, I do want to be able to have a foothold in Abbas 36. For me, the symbolism, I would have that apartment, and as I say, I think in the film, because I want the family name Abu-Ghaida to come back to Haifa. And maybe I will never live in that apartment if I ever manage to buy an apartment in Abbas 36. Maybe I will, maybe my children will, maybe one of my cousins will. But anyway, I am torn in the ways that I am approaching my return. And all Palestinian refugees are probably torn in different ways. But I feel like we need to come together and really send a clear message about what we expect, what we want, and how we would go about it at this point.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw the last question to Marwah. I don't know if she wants to add anything on this topic, or maybe if you can, and just sort of let us know what's next for the film.
What next for? No, I would like to add something before that, if I may, because the film is not just about the right of return. The film also about those who remain, the Palestinian who never left at 48, and the price that they are paying, because Dina is teaching her kids they are Palestinian, doing everything to remind them they are Palestinian, and no one, on the other hand, is working to make them something else. But here, for us as a Palestinian who live here, there is the Israeli education system, there is the Israeli media, there is the Israeli politics, different parties that trying to make from us something else. That, you know, for us to teach our kids, to make it very clear in their head that they are Palestinian. I am a proud Palestinian. This is for me as a mother of four, is a daily work. That was a daily work for Nidal's mother. That was a daily work for my father. So this is also something that it's very important because we are the reminder of Palestine. We as Palestinians who live in Palestine, to survive and to keep ourselves Palestinian, pure Palestinian. This is a mission that's not less easy than coming back. Because if the Palestinian outside will come back for something that not similar to the Palestine that they dream of, the Palestine that they love. So homeland is not just a piece of land. Homeland is the culture. Homeland is the living the language, keeping the language alive, doing film about ourselves, not allowing the others to tell our story. So here where I will tell you what's next to the film. Actually, we had bad luck because this year was a Corona year. Mm-hmm. The film was supposed to be going in too many different festivals, but unfortunately, most of the festivals decided to cancel. So we are trying actually to keep it on, even to recut it and to edit it again. Sarah is not with us anymore, and Sarah had a very beautiful part and strong part in the film that it's not in the film. The fact that she's not with us anymore make me as a filmmaker that follow her, and also as someone that love her and like her very much, to maybe reopen the film and put her more in the film as a way of telling her thank you for who you are, and this is your message that we are passing on. In the same way, as a filmmaker, I have another film to push, which is The Bride Breast, that actually was in another festival in Denmark a week ago. And also, by the way that the way of living under occupation is not just by having a lot of Palestinian locked outside of Palestine, but also interfering in a daily basis of the Palestinian, with whom to get married, with whom not to get married. Like even when you can have your own baby, because the story that we're following with The Bride Dress, two friends that get engaged together, one of them, her fiance is in a jail. So I can tell Dina now that her relative Lubna is expecting her second baby, while Samud is still not having the first one because her fiance is in the Israeli jail. So my way of doing demonstration is doing another film and another film, and telling the Palestinian story in different ways and means. And my method is film, so I will continue making films, and I can announce even for the first time that actually we finished editing 6 films about Palestine photographers. This is something that I was working in the last 1.5 years very hard. I didn't do anything but film. And we closed the last film in the last week, and I hope that Palestine photographers film will see also the way to your festival and to other festivals soon.
Yeah, no, we're definitely looking forward to checking out all your future projects. And so, yes, definitely send things our way. We'd love to take a look at it. I really want to thank the 3 of you for taking the time to chat with us, give us, even more insight into the making of this film and into yourselves and what brought you together to tell this story. It's an important one, and I hope, many people get a chance to see it. For our audience out there, this film is available on our platform for another 48 hours. So please be sure to tell your friends and family worldwide to check this film out, because this film is available outside of Canada, so they will have an opportunity to watch it. And I wish you guys the best of luck, and all the best, dealing with life under the pandemic. And we look forward to your future work and projects. So please definitely stay in touch with us.
We will.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.